High above a wind-carved plateau where the sky feels close enough to touch, a shadow slipped across the frozen grass. The land was quiet in the way only extreme places are quiet, broken only by the whistle of wind and the distant grind of ice against stone. A wild yak grazed near a shallow ravine, its massive frame dusted with snow, breath rising in slow, steady clouds. To most creatures, this yak was a fortress of muscle and fur, a living mountain that nothing dared challenge. But the shadow circling overhead belonged to a predator that did not think in terms of size, only opportunity. The bald eagle rode the air currents with surgical precision. Its white head gleamed against the blue, eyes locked downward, reading the land like a map written in movement. Bald eagles are known for their regal stillness, the way they seem to float rather than fly, but beneath that calm is an engine of instinct sharpened by survival. Fish are their usual prize, sometimes small mammals, rarely anything larger than they can lift. A full-grown wild yak was not prey. It was a risk. Yet something about the scene below triggered a decision that would soon ripple far beyond this lonely plateau. The yak shifted its weight, favoring one leg. The ground here was treacherous, a crust of snow hiding slick rock. The eagle noticed what others would miss, the slight hesitation in the animal's step, the momentary imbalance when it lowered its head to graze. Predators do not need certainty, they need possibility. The eagle folded its wings and dropped. The first strike came fast, a blur of feathers and talons aimed not to kill but to disrupt. The eagle slashed at the yak's face, forcing its head up and back. The yak bellowed, a deep, thunderous sound that rolled across the plateau. Snow exploded under its hooves as it staggered sideways. The eagle pulled up at the last second, climbing sharply before circling again. To anyone watching, it looked impossible, an aerial hunter harassing a beast many times its size. To the eagle, it was a test. Again and again, the eagle dove, each time aiming for the eyes, the nose, the sensitive places that could break focus. The yak swung its head wildly, horns cutting arcs through the air. Its breath came faster now, panic creeping into its movements. The plateau offered little room to maneuver, and with each stumble the ravine drew closer. This was no simple hunt. It was a dangerous dance where one wrong move meant death, for either of them. The eagle's wings beat hard as it avoided the horns by inches. Feathers brushed fur. The yak charged forward, then skidded, hooves scraping uselessly against ice. For a moment, time seemed to slow. The yak teetered on the edge of the ravine, pebbles and snow sliding into the void below. The eagle dove once more, a calculated gamble. Its talons raked the yak's face, and the great animal reared back in terror. The ground gave way. With a roar that echoed off the canyon walls, the yak fell. Its massive body crashed down the rocky slope, sending up clouds of dust and snow. The sound was brutal, final. The eagle wheeled overhead, watching the descent, ready to claim whatever the fall had finished. But the ravine did not deliver the ending the eagle expected. Halfway down, the yak's fall was broken by a narrow ledge. The animal slammed into it hard, rolling, then stopping in a tangled sprawl of fur and horns. For several long seconds, nothing moved. The plateau above fell silent again, as if the land itself was holding its breath. Slowly, impossibly, the yak stirred. A groan rumbled from its chest as it tried to rise, legs scrambling against stone. One hind leg hung at an unnatural angle, injured but not entirely useless. The yak was alive, battered, terrified, but alive. The eagle circled lower now, confusion flickering in its sharp gaze. This was supposed to be over. Gravity was supposed to do the work no talon could. The eagle landed on a rock outcrop, wings half spread, watching. It could not reach the yak where it lay, and the ledge offered no easy path down. Minutes passed. The yak struggled, slipping, then finding just enough purchase to stop itself from falling further. Blood streaked its fur where rock had torn skin, but its eyes burned with stubborn life. What happened next would shock everyone who later heard the story. From the far side of the plateau, figures appeared, humans, wrapped in heavy coats, moving cautiously toward the ravine. They were wildlife rangers, part of a small team monitoring migration routes in this harsh region. Drawn by the echoes of the fall, they had come to investigate, expecting perhaps a landslide or a distant storm. What they found instead stopped them cold. Below them, on the narrow ledge, was the injured yak. Above, perched like a silent judge, was the bald eagle. The rangers moved carefully, speaking softly, aware that any sudden noise could panic the animal into another fall. They assessed the situation quickly. The yak could not climb back up on its own, but it also could not survive long where it was. Cold, injuries, and shock would claim it before nightfall. As ropes were unpacked and plans whispered, the eagle did something no one expected. Instead of fleeing at the sight of humans, it remained. It hopped closer to the edge, peering down at the yak, then back at the people. Once, twice, it lifted its wings as if to take off, then settled again. It was not guarding prey. It was watching. The rescue was slow and dangerous. One ranger was lowered partway down the ravine, securing a harness around the yak's chest and shoulders. The animal resisted at first, eyes rolling, muscles tensing, but exhaustion soon overpowered fear. Inch by inch, with grunts and strained ropes, the team began to haul the yak upward. Throughout it all, the eagle stayed. When the yak finally reached solid ground, collapsing in a heap of steam and trembling muscle, something extraordinary happened. The eagle took to the air, circling low over the scene. It did not dive. It did not attack. It cried out once, a sharp, piercing call that cut through the wind, then climbed higher, riding the thermals away from the plateau. The rangers stood in stunned silence. Later, as the yak was treated and eventually guided back toward safer grazing grounds, the story spread. At first, it was told as a tale of raw nature, of a predator exploiting weakness. But the ending changed everything. The eagle had the chance to continue the attack once the yak fell. Instead, it waited. It observed. It left without claiming a prize. Some said the eagle understood that the fight was over, that the cost was too high. Others believed the presence of humans changed its calculation. A few, quieter voices suggested something harder to explain, that the eagle, having tested the limits of survival, chose to let life continue. Nature does not deal in morals the way humans do. Predators hunt, prey flee, and chance decides the rest. Yet moments like this blur the lines we think we understand. The bald eagle did not become a hero, nor did it become a villain. It became a witness to its own power, and its restraint. For the yak, survival was not just a matter of strength, but of timing, terrain, and the unexpected arrival of help. For the people who watched it unfold, the scene left a mark that words struggled to capture. They had seen fear and violence, yes, but also pause. A moment where instinct hesitated. Long after the plateau returned to silence, after the tracks faded and the wind smoothed the snow, the story remained. A reminder that even in the wildest places, endings are not always what we expect. Sometimes, survival comes from the very edge of disaster. And sometimes, the most shocking act is not the attack, but the decision to stop.